Hi everybody, this is Betsy Veldman for Papertrey Inc. and I am here today to show you and tell you all about the brand new Make It Market mini kit ColourPop Autumn. Okay, so if you've had any of the other ColourPop kits, you might be familiar with how this goes. The ColourPop kits all have stencils that coordinate with pattern papers, or of course you can use them on their own as well. The ColourPop Autumn kit has 4 stencils. All of the previous ColourPop kits have just 3, but the Autumn kit has 4 stencils, and those stencils coordinate with the pattern papers from the kit, and they allow you to create beautiful, colorful pattern papers using the stencils. And then there is also a $5 mini stamp set included in the kit, and that will allow you to add lots of little details to your stenciled leaves and flowers. And then there's also a handful of really great sentiments in the stamp set also. So like I said, the stencils coordinate with the pattern papers. The pattern papers are printed in shades of cool and warm neutrals. There are all over patterns, and there are 3 shades of warm neutrals, and then there are 3 shades of cool neutrals in the all over print as well. And then there are some prints that feature just more of a cluster of leaves and flowers, and those are also again done in the 3 shades of cool and the 3 shades of warm. And then there are sheets of pre-printed floral and leaf die cuts which coordinate with the dies in the kit and allow you to just really quickly create some pre-printed die cuts to use on your projects. Okay, so here are a few of the all-over prints that I have already stenciled on, and you can see just how beautiful they turn out. The stenciling just allows you to add all kinds of shading and color. This is the soft stone printed paper. This is what it started out as, and after I stenciled and stamped on it, this is what we're left with. And you can see you can come up with your own color combinations. Here I did in all shades of greens. This one was done on the craft background, and some of these I left white and just add the stenciled details, so that's totally an option too. And here's a third one. This was on the smoky shadow background, and I added lots of deep, rich autumn colors. So let me show you these stencils in action. Okay, so we're ready to start stenciling. You'll see here I have a 1-inch ink blending tool with a sponge. I have a sponge for each color family. You can see mine are very well broken in, which I actually like. I have my pattern paper stuck to a Cricut cutting mat from my electronic Cricut machine. It's sticky, so I can stick my paper right to there, and it helps, and my stencil over the top, so it helps to hold everything in place. And I also have lots of inks. You can't see them all on the camera here, but I'll be pulling those out as we go through stenciling this pattern paper. So I'm going to start with this stencil, and each of the stencils has a circle in the upper left hand corner that just helps you orient everything. So if you start with your pattern paper, keep an eye on this leaf in the center. That needs to be kind of pointing downwards, so that will be the upside, so that your stencils will be in the right place if you have your circle in the upper left corner. All you have to do is lay the stencil over the top, and you can see then how everything on the stencil lines up with the white spaces in the pattern papers. So I'll just put that there and kind of rub over my edges to secure. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start stenciling and sponging ink. I'm going to start on these largest leaves. And I'm using pure poppy to start off with. And you just want to watch out that you're not getting ink onto any of these areas that you maybe don't want to stencil. I want to do these in a different color, so I'm going to be careful that I'm not sponging ink over those. If you feel it's necessary, you can just use some sticky notes, post-it notes, to just mask off any areas that you feel you might be a little close to and you might hit. But these are spaced pretty far apart, so it's not really too much of an issue. Alright, so here I have switched it to Americana ink because it's going to give me some nice shading. So what I'm doing is I'm going back over those leaves, and I'm not stenciling a solid color with this Americana. I'm just kind of adding some shading to just parts of the leaves. See this one here, I just added it kind of on the bottom half, and here just kind of to one side. Okay, so that is those leaves. Then I'm going to switch to a green blending sponge, and I'm going to go ahead and catch all of these other leaves and stems that are on this stencil. Some of these finer areas up in here with the little flower stems, you might need to use more of a pouncing action than your typical circular blending motion to get a good coverage up in those areas. Okay. And this sounds kind of weird, but I'm actually going to switch back to my red sponge, and I'm going to add just a little bit of shading to some of these leaves. If you think about fall leaves, there's a lot of color. They're not necessarily just green or just red. Sometimes some of those colors blended together. Okay, so we got those all, we have everything on that stencil is done, so we can go ahead and pull that off, and you can see how our pattern is starting to build and starting to fill in. The next stencil I'm going to pull out is the stencil with these berries on it. I'll go ahead and line that up, and I'm going to switch to an orange blending sponge, and I'm going to pull out orange zest and terracotta tile inks. I'm going to start with the orange zest, the lighter color. Just sponge those over the top. And these areas on the stencil are small enough that the sponging is super easy. You don't have to worry really about blotchiness or getting uneven color because the area is so small. It really is pretty much foolproof. So I'm going to go in with the terracotta tile. I'm just going to add some shading with that. Okay, so that step is finished. We can move on. Next step, I'm going to do these more rounded leaves. And for that one, I'm pulling out bright buttercup. And we're also going to use a bit of green parakeet. Line up my stencil again. My circle is in the upper left-hand corner. It's just an easy reference so that I know my stencil is oriented the correct way. And I'm going to go ahead and take that bright buttercup ink and sponge over all of those leaves. It's so fun to choose your own colors and just really watch this whole thing just come to life. It's like color by number for stampers. Okay, and then I'm going to switch to a green sponge, and I'm going to take just a little bit of green parakeet and add a little bit of shading just to kind of the edges of those leaves. I have my sponge kind of at an angle. I'm not going straight down with it. I have it at a bit of an angle, so it just kind of catches those edges. Okay, I think we got them all. The fun part is always pulling that stencil off and seeing our pretty pattern. Okay, last stencil. This one has hydrangeas and acorns on it. Just make sure I have that in the right spot. Okay, and I'm going to switch to my orange sponge, And I'm sponging Bright Buttercup right now. Kind of do have to watch out for the little acorns on this one. Like I mentioned, you can just pull out a sticky note. This is just a sticky note. And I can place that right there if I feel like I need a little help to avoid getting ink on those areas. Okay, I think that's it for the hydrangeas. I am going to add a little bit of shading to those with some orange zest ink. Okay, and then we have our acorns. We're going to finish up by doing those. I'm going to switch to, actually I'm going to use a cocoa bean ink for those. And I have a brown sponge on my handle. And I see I missed shading my little hydrangea up in the corner, so I'll go back and catch that in a minute. Switch back to my orange sponge and add a little bit of color to that hydrangea too. And then we have the fun part of pulling that stencil off again. Okay, so our stenciling is complete, but now we can add even more details by pulling out the stamp set. Okay, and I think that is it. That completes our pattern. We've done all of the stenciling and all of the stamping, and we have this beautiful, colorful, shaded pattern. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, there are also pattern papers that feature clusters of the leaves and berries instead of the all-over pattern. And these work very much the same way, except for, of course, your stencil is not going to match up with the pattern. So what you need to do is you just need to grab the individual little leaves and flowers and such, and just position those over the top and stencil those individually. Not too tough, pretty simple, creates a beautiful pattern as well. Of course, there are also dies included in the kit that coordinate with all of the different leaves and flowers found in the stencils and the pattern papers. And so you can of course cut those and then stencil and stamp on those as well to add the color. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little peek into the ColourPop Autumn mini kit, and this kit will be available for purchase beginning on August 15 from the Papertrey Inc. website. Thanks for watching. This has been Betsy Veldman for Papertrey Inc.